very much to do with the classical training that we talked about earlier, because it just meant my range was quite big from a very early age, and also the kind of cocky confidence that the youth followed me around. That's taken a few knocks. And also, there aren't that many people from outer space to be cast in other productions. So Leela didn't have the same, you know, I didn't come from Earth, even though I was an Earthling. I did have that kind of slightly otherworldly quality. So I don't think there was any danger of typecasting. And it did open a lot of doors for theatre for me, a lot of doors.
Oh, I was just thinking more of like you didn't go down the Bond girl route or...
No, sadly, no, I'm directing a play about Ian Fleming at the moment, interestingly. And I will be doing the voice on that, the soundscape on that, but that's as near as I'll ever get to being a Bond girl. I could play Anne. Do you know why he called it Anne?
Ian Fleming's mum.
Yeah. Anne for mother. Yeah. Interesting. Who said that? I want you on my pub quiz tea.
Can I just say, all the questions I was thinking of asking were all accepted. But thank you, because my father, who is no longer with me, that was the one time that we shared during the week, but apparently we were watching it for 2 different reasons.
Rest in peace. As far as the costume's concerned, I haven't got the first one, but I have got the second. I did make the second tennis outfit. And it's just there for a rainy day, either when I completely run out of money or some charity is desperately in need of some money, I will sell it, but I do still have that. My niece, who looks very like I used to, has worn it to a couple of fancy dress parties.
Well, may well suit you soon, because we're looking at keeping fit and whatever, and you're thinking of a personal trainer, a little bit of a present for your birthday.
I am, yes, my darling friend, I'm not sure whether to thank her or hit her, bought me a personal trainer for my 60th. So both my sons are personal trainers, and they both tried to train me, but basically, and this is their words, not mine, you have to either fancy or be frightened of your personal trainer. Well, if they're your sons, that's just a bit weird. So I have this other man who I'm told is gorgeous and will make me laugh, so we'll see.
I need to come and cover this to make sure.
Okay.
All is outside.
I'll send you photos.
You're on. Oh, it's going to have a harem at this rate. Anybody else coming? Who else has anyone had a fitness trainer? Nothing to go by yet, so we need you to come back and tell us if it actually works. How do you manage, because you're such a busy person, if you to check out any website, or you love blogging, you do a regular blog, we'll talk more about that, but you're so busy, you're producing, you're directing, you're writing, you're touring, so how do you fit it all in? How do you manage your day?
I don't know. Do you know the main problem is organising the dog? Honestly, I think that's probably where all the anxiety focuses, because I hate leaving him. And I've got 3 brilliant dog walkers who he absolutely adores, and I have a house sitter. It costs a fortune to take care of this dog, who isn't mine anyway. It belongs to the boys, but they left home and left the dog behind. You know,
that's kids for you.
Yes. So bless him. So I don't know. I did an interview for, there's a book coming out about Penco, and you know how it, all the rehearsal and episode by episode and what we thought of each other and any little anecdotes and all that. And he was saying how Philippa Urquhart had arranged to meet him in the National Library, and someone else had arranged to meet him in a pub, and somebody else had arranged, and I'd arranged to meet him at Charing Cross Hotel, because it's like I get out of the station into the hotel. And I said, oh, it's interesting, isn't it, about how where they've decided to meet you? He said, yes, it says a lot about the woman. And I went, well, what does this say about me? And he went, that you're efficient. So I thought, well, he probably got it.
I think listening to everything that Shirley just said, what do you do to relax?
I play Scrabble online. I absolutely love it. Because I'm dyslexic, I can check all the spelling, so I get to play all those games that I can't play on the and I also walk. I walk a lot.
Surprising how many people who are dyslexic actually get into acting as well.
Yes.
It's an awful lot, aren't there?
I'll tell you another statistic. I'll tell you 3 statistics, which I think is fascinating. 11% of Britain is dyslexic. 40% of self-made millionaires are dyslexic. That's interesting. You just think of 85% of male prisoners are dyslexic. So there's something very interesting about dyslexia that absolutely needs to be addressed. If anybody here has a problem, and there's anybody who has a problem, Ron Davis is the person to speak of. He's written a book called The Gift of Dyslexia, and he views it absolutely as a positive, and it's turned my youngest son's life around completely. 5 days intensive, quite expensive training on a one-on-one basis, and it's never a problem again. I really mean that.
Gosh.
Ron Davis, D-A-V-I-S.
Because not too long ago, some schools, and I know there are various in Swindon, would actually not even acknowledge the word dyslexia. And it was not actually in their vocabulary, which caused an awful lot of problems for young people.
And you go, I've had teachers say that I do not believe in, it does not exist. You haven't got it. You don't know what it's like. It's terrible.
So how do you manage with things like learning your lines?
I put it onto tape. I don't have problems reading. I have absolutely no sense of direction, and I absolutely cannot spell. But I don't have any problems sight reading. So dyslexia has become this kind of bucket that anybody with any kind of learning difficulty has been kind of lumped with this label, which doesn't really mean anything, but there are common denominators. Which is, am I boring, or can I just...
No, please do.
Okay, what a dyslexic brain does, this is why dyslexics make brilliant architects. What a dyslexic brain does, if a so-called normal brain looks at these flowers, they'll see it from the front, from the back, up, down in their head, and they'll then take a kind of photograph of how it should look. A dyslexic brain travels all over it and can take 34 different pictures of it. And you know, this is why it can sometimes verges on autism. They can turn around and draw it again, because they've got this imprint in their head. And why they're great architects, because they can see the entire building and solve all the problems within the building, rather than just seeing one bit of architecture. So if they're looking at letters like ABC, can you imagine that? You know, tiny little 3-4-year-old brain taking 34 different pictures. After 20 minutes they're exhausted, so they then get diagnosed with being attention deficit disorder, and they're not. It's just that they've got too much information. They're overloaded. They just need a break.
Just needs to be known how to be treated, how to work with them.
Exactly.
And recognised early so you can do something about it.
Completely. And just teach them in a different way. Just absolutely coming from a different angle.
The best thing of all is to see someone who has achieved, isn't it? Because you realise what you can do,
Yeah.
which is the biggest inspiration of all, isn't it?
Well, there's a huge list of people. Einstein, you know, there's just a huge list of people that have achieved and visualised wonderful things, making happen.
And you've done it. We sort of skipped over the EastEnders a little bit, didn't we? Indeed. And I know there are a few fans. Indeed.
Yeah.
An absolute...
I haven't seen it recently at all, so I can't. The thing about English soaps is that they can be very depressing. And American soaps are all to do with kind of achieving and money and and English soaps are to do with kind of being lots of victims in one place, isn't it? I've just had a screen test for Annabelle. I'll know tomorrow whether I'm doing... Have you watched Annabelle?
Got one happy fan here.
To play Jay's mum. So that's up for grabs. 6 of us all fighting our nails this weekend.
Is that going to be a long-term role?
I think they're going to bring us in for one story, and then if they like us, they'll keep us on. Is what they'll do.
In addition to some more filming you've done recently, looking forward, Doc Martin.
Yeah.
Very popular programme, isn't it?
Hell. Caroline Cat's mum.
A little bit of sadism here, a little bit sadistic, because you said, looking at you, that it's one of the most enjoyable things you're doing.
Yeah.
But at the same role, you're going to be a sadistic kind of mother-in-law from hell. So it's a good combination of the two.
It's so much fun to play. I mean, it just verges on the outside. You know, she chain smokes, she puts alcohol in the baby's bottle, and then pretends she's just brilliant. She can get the baby to sleep. So we loathe, Martin Clunes and I loathe each other on site. But it's just such fun. It's such fun to play much nicer than sort of, this goody two-shoe, isn't it?
But that's where variety comes in.
Yeah,
It's brilliant,
yeah.
isn't it, to be able to do that?
Yeah.
But he's happy, isn't he? Martin, sorry, lady at the back.
Yes, you've just mentioned smoking,
Yes.
and obviously since all the recent legislation with regard to smoking in the workplace, I've noticed on television and on stage, actors and actresses are still expected to smoke.
Yeah.
Do you use one of these special funny things that pretend to be cigarettes, or do you actually have to light up?
On stage, I use the electric one,
Right.
which if you blow it rather than
It
suck it, you
blows
get a
it.
little bit of,
Yeah.
and it also lights up in the dark. It's very
Right,
good.
yeah. Yeah.
And on camera, I use herbal cigarettes, but I was 40 a day in my youth. That's how we all got so skinny on Tenko.
What made you stop?
I got pregnant. So there you go. Can't do it then, can you?
And then you stopped for good.
Yeah.
Never been tempted since?
Oh, I've kind of flirted with it when I've had too much to drink, but not really, no. Never went back like that, no. What was I thinking? You've got smokers, aren't you? Ex-smokers. Ex-smokers. So would you call yourself a smoker in recovery, or would you say that you...
Actually, if I could smoke, just to relax, when I'm out socially,
Yeah.
and I still have spoken today, but I know I couldn't. I've never put one to my mouth since
Good for
12
you.
years ago, so
Good for you.
if I would, I'd go straight to the packet.
Was the hardest thing. You
Yeah.
I was doing a series called The Omega Factor in 79-ish. It was the first time I tried to give up. And on episode 8, myself and Jimmy Hazeldine and John Carlyle, we all decided to give up together. And suddenly, if you watch the series, in episode 8, we're all suddenly screaming at each other. It's this nice, gentle work.
Who else is a smoker? Not too many. One. Oh. Percentages are going down, aren't they, when you go into the public?
Yeah.
They are actually going down. What do you think of the little oases that we now build outside our pubs and clubs, don't we? And you get it, no matter what the weather, pouring down with rain, but they'll stand there in the tiniest little bit of shelter to have the cigarette.
I still believe they should have smoker things, it's a time of choice. I don't believe restaurants, I hate, smoking, even when I smoke. But I do believe they should have sections. The worst thing in the world is driving by and seeing outside of offices and outside of banks, they've got to come out and have a quick bag. If they only had a section for smokers only, then I think, seriously, what would the man just have? A pint in the bag, didn't he? A working class man, that was his, at the end of the day, with a pint in the bag. And I honestly have got nothing against that. I packed it because they were too expensive. That's all.
82p when I was
They're that much each now.
I've got, I do have one more. Just flip back to Doctor Who. Did anybody, I'm so embarrassed by this, I can't believe I'm mentioning it, but I'm going to.
Oh, we like
Sorry
this.
afterwards, it's worth it. Anybody see the okay?
Yes.
I got so bullied into doing the science questions. For those of you that didn't see it, our team did extremely well, except for me, it was a Doctor Who team. You had Colin Baker, John Leeson, Katie Manning, me, and, Rosa Kilt. Thank you. We're on the Zoom, and they all did really, really, really well. And then it got to, and before the show, Barry, lovely Barry, he's gone, that's such Doctor Who, can I shake your hand? He was so pleased to see me there, it was lovely. Anyway, he'd been very sweet to me, so when they said, you're doing some, well actually, Colin completely bullied me into doing the science, but, I've got 4 O-levels, anyway, I don't even know what an analgesic is, so I did, they said, who do you want? I said Barry, and they went, lovely, Barry was delighted, nobody told me I had a double first from Cambridge in science. Anyway, our team did so well, we all were late for our flight home from Glasgow, which is where they were filming it, so there was Colin, John, me and Katie. Fraser was staying up there. So we get to the airport they're calling us like, Lazar and I, will you please, da 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 da.